Hey folks, in this video I'm going to be installing headlight halos in my E46 BMW. Now in the last video we installed these sweet hood catches, but unfortunately that install took a long time, so the headlight halos get their own separate video. Anyway, let's get started. Hey guys, this video is part 3 of the basket case BMW facelift project. And in this video, we're going to install some headlight halos. Let's get started. Okay, so the first step in installing the halos is to remove the lenses from the headlights. Now, I tried prying these off with a putty knife and they basically laughed at me. However, I live in the Sunshine State, so I'm going to set these guys out in the sun and let them soak up some thermonuclear radiation. Maybe the heat will soften up the glue. Okay, before we can install the halos, of course the lenses need to come off of these headlights. Now, the Angel Eye Guy instructions say that you can remove these lenses with the headlights still installed in the car. Yeah, that's not going to happen, not with these headlights. These are aftermarket headlights, they're only a couple of years old, so the glue on them is still pretty fresh. If your headlights are 20 plus years old and the glue is starting to deteriorate, maybe you'll have better luck with that. But thankfully, I live in Florida, the Sunshine State. So I just set these guys out in the sun. The heat from the sun will soften up the glue, and now I can pry them apart. That said, it's still going to be a bit of a struggle. So I brought my little friend with me, and we're going to go to work. This is going to take a minute. We're getting there. Alright, there we go. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. Let's not break anything. And that glue is gooey. Stringy like cheese. Probably doesn't taste like cheese though. Okay guys, the lens is off. Let's take this back to the shop. Okay, before we start the video, I should probably explain that these are not sponsored. I paid full retail price. Okay, so this kit you're looking at is the white and amber kit from Angel Eye Guy. How this kit works is normally they're white color. They're white when you turn on the ignition. They're also white when the interior lights come on, I believe. And then when you activate the turn signals, they blink yellow. However, I don't care about the white. I just want them to be amber all the time. However, Angel Eye Guy doesn't sell any that are just amber. They sell a kit that is just white, and they sell this kit which is white and amber. So I'm going to have to modify the wiring harness that comes with it to make them do that. So it's nice that the kit comes with its own standalone wiring harness. You can see here it's got a relay. It's also got an inline fuse right here. And it's got some other stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, it connects to the interior lights and it connects to the a wire that's powered on with ignition and so on and so forth. Actually, most of this is going to go away. and here's why. First of all, like I mentioned a second ago, I'm only going to operate these in the amber mode. I'm not going to operate them in the white mode. So all the wiring in here pertaining to the white mode is going away. Also, I'm not going to be using the relay or the inline fuse because I'm going to put an unused circuit in my car's fuse box to use for this. Let me show you that. Okay, so if you've seen some of my earlier videos, you'll know that I deleted some stuff like the stereo system, the air conditioning, the sunroof, and so on and so forth. So that means I have a bunch of circuits in my fuse panel that are no longer being used. And instead of just deleting all that wiring, I actually took some of it and I tucked it up underneath the fuse box. And of course I pulled the fuses for these wires because I don't want to have live wires dangling. So when I install the headlight halos, I'm just going to repurpose one of these electrical circuits that's not being used right now. Specifically, I'm going to use one of the AC circuits that's 7.5 amps. That should be plenty for the halos. And also the particular circuit I'm using, it is power on with the key on. So when I turn the key on, anytime the ignition is on, the halos will be on. And that's actually what I want. Oh, and just a side note, when I took these wires up away, I actually labeled them. I put a piece of tape on it and then I labeled it with the fuse number. So in the future, if I go back to use one of these like I'm doing right now, I can just look at the tag and I know which fuse it corresponds to, and that makes my life easier. Okay, so the lenses are removed from the headlights and now we can install the halos. But before we do that, I want to do a little something. Okay, so I used electrical tape to cover up part of the headlight halos to give them a more aggressive look. And just to be clear, I did not use the cheap Harbor Freight electrical tape because I don't trust that stuff. It probably won't last very long. So instead, I used the good stuff. Hopefully this stuff will last a while. Alright, now we can install these into our headlights. Okay, so these halos are installed. Now I just need to finagle the wiring through the... So now I just need to fish the wiring through the back of the housing and out through here. Alrighty, we got our two wires coming out the back of the headlight assembly. Now I'm going to cut a little slot in the rubber grommet here, and I'm going to run those guys out through that hole in the grommet. Alright, we have our halo wires coming out the back of the grommet, and now I think we can reinstall the lens on the headlight assembly. Alright, so we have our headlights reassembled, and now it's time to do the wiring. Once again, these are the wires for the halos coming out the back of the headlight assembly, and they connect to the switchback module. And the switchback is connected to the wiring harness. Okay, but seriously, in the switchback module, the red wire powers the white color for the halo, the yellow wire powers the amber color for the halo, and the black is ground. Now normally you would connect these together to activate your white halo, and then you would connect this yellow to that yellow, and this would get spliced into your turn signal. But once again, I'm going to do things a little bit differently. I want the halos to be amber all the time. So I'm going to take this wire, which is for the amber, and I'm going to splice it into this connector. This red wire is actually not going to be connected because once again, that's for the white color, and I'm not going to use that. Okay, and here we have our modified wiring harness. By the way, what you're hearing in the background is rain. Welcome to Florida. Anyway, these are the switchback modules. Once again, these connect to the halos right here. And I took that yellow wire and spliced it into the red wire, so this is going to power the amber color for the halos. This used to go to the white color for the halos. Once again, that is not being used. And the rest of this cable goes back. Actually, this one goes back over here, and they both connect together here. This is our power for the amber halos. It's going to connect to fuse 13, which used to power part of the AC circuit, and anybody who's triskaidekaphobic is probably tripping right now. And last but not least, we have our ground, which is going to connect to the ground post. So let's get all of this installed in the car. Okay, before I hook up that power wire to the fuse box, I'm gonna touch it to the battery terminal just to see if the wiring actually works properly. Nice. Okay, so I misspoke earlier. I said I was going to use fuse number 13, but in my car, fuse number 13, which is right here, yeah, right there, it's an unused circuit. There's no wiring connected to it. So, instead I'm going to use fuse number 15. So hey, if you're triskaidekaphobic, you can breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, so here is our wire for fuse number 15. Once again, I labeled all these unused wires. So for example, this one is F15 for fuse number 15. That's also a damn good fighter jet. Anyway, let's push this wire through the firewall right over here and get her connected up. And there's our little wire poking through the firewall. We'll just get this little guy connected to that little guy, and we'll be good to go. Okay, folks, it's all over but the shouting. We got our wires all hooked up, and I also installed a fuse in the fuse box. So at this point, it should be fully functional. Actually, let's get in the car, turn the key, and see what happens. Okay, for some reason my camera just does not handle LED lights very well. But I can tell you that looks a lot better in person. And yeah, that's basically the look I'm going for. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I tidied up the wiring a little bit. So, you can see right over here. Then it goes across and it goes through that wiring conduit over there. Comes out through here. Here's our grounding post. Then the other leg goes through this conduit out to that headlight. It's not show car quality, but it'll get the job done. Okay, I owe you guys an apology. I totally forgot to film the footage for the end of this video. But at this point, the entire facelift project is complete. All I need to do is reinstall the front bumper and the trim. I did that off camera because you guys probably don't want to watch me remove and reinstall the front bumper 100 times. Also, I want to comment on the Angel I Got halos. The kit is decent quality and it works fine. but I'm not impressed with the instructions. First of all, they say you can remove the headlight lenses with the headlights still in the car. I don't see that happening. If you try that, you're probably going to break something. In my opinion, you'd be better off just removing the headlights. Also, the instructions say if the bezels in the headlights obstruct part of the halos, you can just aim the headlights up. That's crazy. You should not be telling people to aim their headlights up into the sky. The correct solution would be to trim the bezels to make room. Once again, I think the halo kit itself is fine, but the instructions need some work. Anyway, here is the finished product. The basket case BMW now has a new front bumper with a front splitter. It has arrow catch hood latches. And of course, it has a new set of amber halos. The car looks completely different. And this all started with a random encounter in the junkyard. But now my E46 race car looks more like a race car, and I like it. Speaking of race car, in the next video, we're going to get back to the racing. Alright, well, that's it for this video. See you next time.